Brendan Schaub's journey in MMA has to be a very uncommon one. He made a total of 11 fights in the UFC before he retired to stand-up comedy and podcasting. In this video, I will be telling you about all his 11 fights ranked worst to best. Stay tuned. Number 11. Brendan Schaub vs. Andrei Arlovski. Brendan Schaub's bout with former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski at UFC 174 didn't turn out as many fans would have expected. A lot of fans had expected that it would be a fight with a heavy exchange of blows between the two star fighters, as both were heavy strikers, but sadly, it wasn't even close to that. The match was a very important one for their careers, as the victory was going to rank whoever won higher in the heavyweight division. The first round didn't have a great start, as both were hesitant on their feet and spent time stalling in the clinch. They both seemed like they were not willing to chase an opportunity for a finish. In the third round, Brendan Schaub eventually got a takedown but spent a long time throwing uncoordinated and ineffective shots at Andrei Arlovski. Arlovski eventually got up on his feet, but he still couldn't do much. All three rounds were ended since none of them did anything effective to have a win, and the winner had to be selected by a split decision from the judges. The fight was so poor and boring that nobody really cared to know who the winner would be when the decision was being read. However, Andrei Arlovski emerged as the winner. Number 10. Brendan Schaub vs. Lavar Johnson. One of Brendan Schaub's victories in the octagon includes having a unanimous decision win over Lavar Johnson at UFC 157. Fans expected that Brendan wouldn't spend much time striking his opponent, but would rather take the fight to the mat early and often. Brendan did exactly that, as he did more of getting takedowns. The fight wasn't very pretty, but Brendan did the job. The first round started with Brendan taking Johnson down to the mat early after a missed strike attempt from Johnson. Brendan went in for a Darce choke submission attempt, but instead of Johnson tapping, he gave a series of punches that caused Brendan to give up the attempt. Brendan couldn't do much else for most of the 15 minutes of the fight other than taking Johnson down to the mat occasionally with submission attempts, but Johnson survived them. However, Brendan Schaub won by a unanimous decision with scores of 30 and 27 on every card. Number 9. Brendan Schaub vs. Gabriel Gonzaga. Winning a former title challenger, Gabriel Gonzaga, at UFC 121 has to be one of Schaub's biggest, if not the biggest, wins of his UFC career. Schaub's speed was what gave him an advantage over his opponent, being able to routinely move inside, land some big punches and get back out without taking any damage. Schaub dominated in the 3 rounds, though received some monster kicks from Gonzaga in the second round that shook him, the best Gonzaga did through the whole fight. Schaub scored 30 and 27 in the 3 rounds, thus emerging the winner. Although judging by today's standards in UFC, this might not really be an impressive fight, it was a great fight at the time and Schaub did the job. Number 8. Brendan Schaub vs. Chase Gormley. At UFC on Verse 1 event, Brendan Schaub fought against Chase Gormley. This was his first fight in the UFC outside The Ultimate Fighter. As opposed to some predictions on the match before the fight by fans that submitting Gormley would be tough due to his ability to muscle out of submissions, Schaub didn't waste time in knocking out Chase Gormley. He did it in just 47 seconds of the first round. He literally chased him off the cage. That's in a lighter mood. While Gormley was not really a top contender against Schaub, it was a great way to start, being his first fight outside TUF, and set him up for bigger fights. Number 7. Brendan Schaub vs. Roy Nelson. This was the finale of Season 7 of the Ultimate Fighters Heavyweight Tournament. Fans expected that it was going to be a tough battle between both to know the champion, but Nelson shocked everyone by knocking out Brendan Schaub in the first round. Schaub used his speed to quickly take the lead and landed some powerful jabs and combinations on his opponent. Nelson countered the attack and attempted a takedown, immediately dominating Schaub on the ground. Nelson almost caught Schaub in his trademark crucifix position, but Schaub survived it and returned to his feet. Not long after, Nelson landed an overhand right that dropped Schaub to the mat, thus emerging the TUF 10 winner. The fight was stopped at 3:45 of the first round. Number 6. Brendan Schaub vs. Chris Tuchscherer. Chris Tuchscherer still believed he had a chance against Brendan Schaub at UFC 116 when their bout was fixed, since he was then with a 21-2 record, but it didn't take long before he realized that he wasn't a match for Schaub's speed. Brendan Schaub's quick hands were his advantage. He won by a knockout just over a minute in the first round. The first, in this case, the only round, started with a violent exchange from both of them, and soon enough, Schaub dropped Tuchscherer with a right to the ground, pounced on him, and landed a series of ground pounds until the referee had to step in and stop it. The time of the stoppage was 1 minute and 7 seconds, which marked the second time Tuchscherer was ever stopped in 22 career fights at the time. Number 5. Brendan Schaub vs Travis Browne. Before this fight, Brendan Schaub had lost 2 consecutive fights and was in a heated feud with Travis Browne, which mainly revolved around Ronda Rousey and Browne's trainer. This made Brendan Schaub really desire a victory in this bout at UFC 181. During the fight, Schaub was obviously worried, Browne being the much larger fighter. Schaub tried bouncing in and out while landing some punches, and his opponent sought to land his power punch and front kick, but none of them could really land effective strikes. Schaub eventually landed a nice double leg takedown. Though Browne didn't allow him to establish a position, it seemed to push up Schaub's confidence. Unfortunately, it didn't take long before Browne landed Schaub a hard uppercut that sent him crashing to the mat. Browne then pounced on him and pounded him until Schaub was flattened out and the fight was stopped. It was a devastating loss for Brendan Schaub. Number 4. Brendan Schaub vs Matt Mitrione. At UFC 165, Brendan Schaub faced a good friend turned rival, Matt Mitrione. Both started with exchange strikes, and Schaub's speed gave him an advantage. Schaub eventually shot for a takedown. As he got Mitrione to the ground, he quickly used his BJJ brown belt to secure a Darce choke until Mitrione went unconscious. Brendan Schaub emerged the winner, winning by technical submission in 4 minutes and 6 seconds of round 1. It was a solid win for Schaub. Number 3. Brendan Schaub vs Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Brendan Schaub vs Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira were scheduled to meet at UFC 134. Prior to the fight, Nogueira was largely seen as the underdog by fans since he was just coming off knee and hip surgeries and had been off the cage for 18 months because of it, but he proved everyone wrong with a total knockout win in the first round. Schaub had a pretty good performance by landing a series of quick jabs. The Brazilian refused to be stopped by the punches and went on to land a 1-2 combination that severely hurt Schaub. Nogueira continued striking his opponent and eventually dropped him to the mat on his face. Nogueira followed with punches from behind until the fight was stopped. The stoppage time was 3 minutes and 9 seconds of the first round. Number 2. Brendan Schaub vs Ben Rothwell. This fight is one of the most exciting fights a fan can see. It lasted just 70 seconds. The two started by exchanging heavy strikes before Schaub severely hurt Rothwell by landing a spinning back elbow. Schaub went in for a kill, but that opened him up to a heavy left hook counterattack that dropped him to the mat. Rothwell followed with heavy punches that knocked Schaub out in just 70 seconds. Number 1. Brendan Schaub vs Mirko Cro Cop. The biggest win in Schaub's career came at UFC 128. This bout was against a former Pride Tournament champion, Mirko Cro Cop. Schaub was injured quite early by Mirko, who shattered his nose, but despite the injury, he relentlessly fought on using his grappling skills. Schaub landed a couple of takedowns through the fight, and Mirko always found a way to return to his feet each time. The fight came to an end when Schaub successfully landed a heavy right that sent Mirko to the canvas. Which of these Brendan Schaub's fights amused you or did otherwise? Leave your comments below. I'm sure you enjoyed this video, so do well to like this video and don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel if you are yet to. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell so you can be promptly notified when more videos like this one are uploaded. Goodbye and see you in the next video.